Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I have an amazing video for you guys today. Here is an article from fortune.com. I will have a link to this article down in the description below, but check this out. A soft landing in the US housing market is possible. So this expert is claiming that we are not going to have a big crash. Now, if we go down to this article and I want to start reading this area right here, check this out. The rapid increase in mortgage rates combined with a slowdown in new home construction means that it is possible the housing market has already reversed and entered a recession. But a contraction in the housing market may not necessarily look like a collapse, with some analysts predicting that a soft landing for real estate wherein the markets enter a cyclical slowdown but does not fall into a severe recession. It is not only possible, but is starting to look like the most likely option. Has the US real estate market managed to navigate a soft landing? It sure looks like it to me. So why are we seeing a soft landing and not a huge crash? Well, I think they basically point out the reasons is because we have really high employment right now, which is keeping people employed, and the mortgage rates kind of softened lately in the last months, and the supply unfortunately has not gone up. The supply is becoming really tight. There is less construction out there, so there's just less supply, and now people are kind of wanting to somewhat jump into the market. Remember, when we have inflation, jumping into the housing market is a great way to hedge against inflation, because over time that money is going to be safe in a property versus if you have cash, right? So a lot of people with a lot of cash rather put it, possibly take it out of stocks and put it into housing. So that is kind of like an environment why everything is kind of staying high. Now, another thing is, nobody wants to put their house on the market because they don't know what's going to happen next week. They don't know if they possibly could lose their job. And as a result, there's not a lot of movement right now in that front. So we have the issue right now. I definitely believe it is a total supply issue. People are holding on to their properties, and the people with the means are trying to pick up as much inventory as possible. Now, with inflation, I don't know if you guys saw, but inflation basically did not rise from the report that came out today. What does this really mean for people wanting to buy a house? Well, it means it's still high, guys. It's still high. Don't forget about that. I mean, things are still costing a lot. And what possibly is going to happen is the next bit of data that's going to come out is going to be the GDP report. And if we show more contraction, that will be, basically 3/4 of contraction. That's going to kind of spook the market, because what's happening is, what inflation is essentially doing is that it's sucking more money out of our bank accounts, whether that's through, credit card rates or mortgage rates or just living and buying food, right? Everything is becoming more expensive and we're having less and less. So we're not able to buy as much. That is basically, that's a clear indication of the GDP shrinking, right? So we will definitely, I predict we are going to see a shrink in the GDP. I don't think people are rushing out there and buying all the stuff. Remember, after we had coronavirus and a lot of people got a lot of money, especially that unemployment money, a lot of people took that money and bought things. So people have their toys already, right? Now, basically, it's time to pay for the things that we bought. So companies that saw huge sales in 2021 might not see huge sales in 2022, and maybe even slower sales in 2023. That is what essentially is going to slow down the market even more, the housing market. Right now we're basically at the peak, right? And when you're at the peak, you're always like, well, things are kind of slowing down, but I think it's fine and everything is peachy and it's going to be great. Well, the truth is, when you jump into the Redfin weekly housing market data and you look at the median sale price, right here, median sale price, and you see how much prices rose from, basically 2019 all the way to up to 2022, you can see that this is unsustainable, right? So when people are saying, well, what, they can see whatever they want, but basically I believe this was the peak. I believe it's going to slow down, but yes, it is. This does look like a soft landing, but we're not seeing what's going to happen down here. We're not seeing what's going to happen if the economy does start to contract as inflation really starts sucking the cash out of the economy. And as that starts and then with the Fed rates again, raising their rates or keeping their rates high, it's going to make it even more difficult to borrow money. You can see that that's just going to be the domino effect. So where are we going to be in a year from now? Well, definitely, I believe, in my personal opinion, is prices will be lower, okay? But they might, we might see a little uptick here and there. But in general, no, these prices are completely unsustainable. I just don't see how they can be up here where salaries have not grown as much as the home prices. This is clear indication that we are in a bubble. We're like in a 2-year bubble, but in that 2-year, those prices really got elevated. Now, again, what's going to keep the houses elevated is going to be a supply, right? So if the supply begins to keep tightening, the prices are going to stay elevated longer and longer. Now look at this. This is the new listing median price. The listing price has not necessarily changed as much. People are just kind of saying like, I want to get top dollar, but this eventually is going to start coming down. Because if someone, these are probably people that are not really totally motivated sellers, and they're saying, hey, you know what, I want to get the most I can, and I don't care if it sits for 3-4 months. But when you look at the actual sale price, you could see it's a whole different story, right? It's actually going down. So these are the actual people that wanted to sell, and this is, basically they sold it for less, versus the people that are listing, the new listing, that they're still trying to get the most out of it as they can. But now if we look at new listings, guys, the supply is now heading in the wrong direction. Look, year after year, this is not good. This is basically the supply and demand, guys, right? If the supply keeps shrinking and being less and less, even if homes sit on the market longer and longer, there's still going to be less homes available, and we're not going to see prices really come down fast until we see the supply start shooting up. So make sure you look at this chart, because this is kind of an indicator of whether the prices are going to stay high or they're going to come crashing down. So when we look at off market in 2 weeks, this is basically how long it takes, if how fast are homes selling. Right now, if we look at 2019, you can see that was the average chart. This is more of like how it is, but since the pandemic, we had and supply issues, you saw that homes were basically getting bought within days, and that made the chart go up. But now we're going back to normal levels. So let's see how this goes. Now, you know what, if this goes below that 2019 level, you're going to see prices really start to come down, right? Because that means that homes are just sitting out longer and longer without people buying them. But again, if the supply stays tight, we're probably going to see homes basically get bought fairly quickly also. So this is a great indicator to check out. And if we look at homes sold, guys, you could see the sales are down, right? We are now below that 2019 level, which is a good indicator that shows that, we have less buyers out in the market, or maybe the buyers that are in the market are not willing to buy at these high prices. That's another thing. They might be waiting. They're going to wait out the storm, wait for those prices to come down. So we're just going to have to monitor this, guys. But basically, a lot of information to digest here. If you're looking to sell, this is, I would say you're probably going to get the most if you put your house in the market right now, but that is a very risky situation, because you're going to have to move into somewhere else, and that could spell disaster in some ways. Now, if you have a second home and you're thinking, should I sell it now? That's a whole different story. It all depends, if you have renters, if how the house is doing, if it's paid off. There's a lot of, if you're like looking to flip and you bought maybe like a year ago or maybe 2 years ago, yeah, probably a good time to sell right now, cash in a little bit of profits, hopefully you made a little bit of profits, because, we might go down past that 2019 median sale price, and that would put some people underwater, at least the people that bought in the last year. So something to think about, and if you're looking to buy a house, I would just say, If you found the house of your dreams, go ahead, jump in, but if you are kind of in a budget, then it might be a good idea to maybe wait and see if how fast prices start coming down, and kind of gauge it from there. But I'm gonna go ahead and finish this video. I want to say a big thank you to all the people supporting my channel, watching my videos, and leaving comments. Really means a lot to me. Thank you guys so much. If you're new to my channel and you'd like what I have to say about the housing market, please don't forget to subscribe, smash that subscribe button, and go ahead and like and leave a comment. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys, and I'll see you on the next video.